Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's well and good. Welcome to Ink Fingerprinting 101. Before we officially start, let me set some classroom rules. First, please mute your microphone. We don't want any unnecessary noises during the class. Second, you can leave your camera on or off. It doesn't really matter as long as you can hear me well and you can see the presentation. Third, we will use the chat box for any concerns and questions during the class. And I will try to go through them one by one during the Q&A or in between the classes or the discussions. And then lastly, you can reserve your question at the end of the class. We will do a Q&A and I will try my best to answer all your concerns and questions. So by the way, my name is Sarah Jane Mendoza. You can call me Sarah and I work with Charles. Again, welcome to Ink Fingerprinting 101. I hope everyone's excited. Okay, I want to know who among you here is currently running a notary service business already? Can you type me in the chat box if you are? Oh, awesome. Great. We have almost everyone owns a notary service business. That is awesome. That is great. Okay, so what motivated you to start ink fingerprinting service? I want to hear from Cynthia since you're the first one who answered. Hi, Cynthia. You can unmute your microphone.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Um, yeah, I just started. I got my commission 2 weeks ago and I just wanted to add a service. I thought it would be cool. I just wanted some more information really on adding the new service.
Awesome. That is great. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So, today we will be focusing on ink fingerprinting 101, and my goal is that at the end of the class, you guys will be able to start your ink fingerprinting service. Okay, even if you're a newbie in the notary service or you have been in the notary service for quite a while. Okay, so the topics that we will be covering for this class, we'll be discussing what ink fingerprinting is, the types of ink fingerprinting, the training that you need to have to start this business, the state regulations, the materials you needed, setting your price, the marketing approaches you can do, and of course, a MAC appointment, just so you have a glimpse of what it looks like when you are already in the business. Okay, so what is fingerprinting? So, by definition, it's just a process of recording the unique patterns, ridges, and whorls on an individual's fingertips for identification purposes. I want you to look at your hands right now and see the patterns that you have on your hands. Those are unique. Okay, even identical twins doesn't have the same patterns or fingerprint patterns. And the unique thing about these patterns is that this will be your pattern or your fingerprint pattern throughout your lifetime. Even if you got wounds, you got scars in your hands, still that will identify who you are. Okay. And it is widely commonly used for law enforcement, notarizing documents, and professional licensing. So that's how unique your fingerprint is. And if you can see in your hands right now, I'm pretty sure you'll be amazed of how many lines and swirls you can see on your hands. Now, why do we capture fingerprints? So there are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of purposes. But basically, this is for personal record. So we use that for background checking, biometric security, identifying amnesia victims, and known disease in major disasters and criminal situations. So if you can imagine a huge calamities in the area and it's very hard to identify the person, the fingerprint will help identify who they are. Okay, and it is also used for employment screening, legal requirements, and many more. That is why a fingerprinting business is in the market. Okay, there are a lot of purposes for this kind of service. Now, there are two types of fingerprinting service. So we have the ink fingerprinting, which is shown in the image above, and we have the live scan fingerprinting as shown in the image below. Now, when you say ink rolled fingerprinting, this is the traditional way of doing fingerprinting. So we are using the ink to capture the fingerprint and print it in the card or in the paper. So that's ink fingerprinting, and it is commonly required for federal and state background checks. And that is the whole topic or the whole focus of this class today. Now, live scan, on the other hand, uses a device to scan and capture the fingerprints. So you need a device to scan it, and then, of course, it will be quicker in terms of submission and processing because it's already electronic. But if you are planning to start a live scan fingerprinting, you need a capital of at least $5,000 because you have to purchase the device and the software that comes with it. Okay, so if you are a newbie in the notary business or you are just starting to learn about how to start a fingerprinting business, I would advise you start with the traditional, which is the ink and the paper. So by then you'll have a better idea of how the service works, and you can build your clientele, and then maybe in the coming months or years you can, invest in a device and do a live scan fingerprinting. Okay, so that's just the difference of these two fingerprinting services. Now, speaking with the difference of the difference of ink fingerprinting and live scan fingerprinting, people like in the previous classes they will ask us for a training about live scan fingerprinting. We will surely have that maybe in the future, but for now I hope that at the end of the class you guys will be able to do the ink rolled fingerprinting. Okay, so you might be asking, so what are the training that I need to do to start ink fingerprinting service? Now, the good thing is there is no training required for ink fingerprinting. The only thing that you need to have is to strengthen your knowledge about this service. The things are mostly like this class. This is your like kickstart for this service, and you can hone your knowledge moving forward. Like how can I capture a proper or a clear, readable fingerprint? So those are basic skills that you need to understand. And in terms of compliance or certifications, there is no license required in all over like 50 states. You can like anyone can actually start a fingerprinting business. That's how easy it is to start this service. So if you are a notary service business right now, right after this class, you can basically offer this as part of your services. Now you might be asking yourself, really, there is no certification, there is no training and all? Well, I will be discussing that further in the coming slides, but yeah, there is no training and there is no certification. The practical skills that you just need to have is again making sure that you are able to capture a clear, readable fingerprint because some of the fingerprints might be worn out, maybe because of their jobs, because of their daily activities in life. So you have to understand the different skin types so that you can capture a clear and readable fingerprints. Okay, so that is for the training. Now let's understand what are the policies of the government when it comes to fingerprinting service or business. So in terms of state regulations, there are just two things that you have to understand. For the compliance, you need to follow the FBI or state mandated standards for ink-rolled fingerprinting, which I will discuss later on. And of course, making sure that you are using the right fingerprint cards for this service because some of the people will just Google FD258 card and print it out in a standard paper, and that is wrong. There is a FD 258 card that is approved and mandated by FBI when it comes to fingerprinting. So you only have to use that. You cannot print the layout in a standard paper. Okay. And for record keeping, since this is personal information, make sure that you have a proper way of documenting the different services that you already offered, the transactions that you have for the day, for the week, and you have to adhere to privacy law, because again, this is personal information. So you have to be careful with that. And now I will give you a few seconds to look for your state. And later on, I will discuss what open, closed, and restricted means. Now, let me know if you found your state. Just say, found it on the chat box. Awesome. Okay. How about the others? Awesome. Okay. Okay. I believe everyone, or mostly everyone, already found their state. Okay, awesome. So let's discuss what open, closed, and restricted is. So this is the important part of the state regulations that you have to understand. For open, basically this means that there is no regulations, stipulations, or requirements to start a fingerprinting service business. Okay, that means you can perform, or you can already start fingerprinting service. Just purchase the materials that you need, market your service, and boom, you are already in business. That's how easy it is under the open. Okay. So for those under open, yeah, you can definitely just start purchasing all the materials you need, and then you go ahead and market your service. That's for open. For closed, live scan fingerprinting is required if it's about legal purposes. But if it's about personal account or private businesses or immigration or travel requirements, you can still perform ink fingerprinting. You only have to do a live scan fingerprinting if it's about legal purposes. That's under closed. Okay? Same rules is applied to restricted. But the only additional rule under restricted is that people that are not a resident of the state listed in here, you have to use ink fingerprinting. Otherwise, they can use live scan fingerprinting. Okay? So for Louisiana, so for private businesses, they might require FD 258 cards. Okay. Now, if you are planning to apply for a company right after this class, you have to have this common requirement for the companies. Like most of the companies, they will be requiring this. The first one is certification. Now, you might be confused. You told me there is no certification or training required for this service. Well, there is none. But if you are planning to apply for a company, they will require you a certification. Now, the certification, you can get it at the State Department of Justice. They might require you to take a class or a training and an exam to get the certification. Again, this is only applicable if you are going to apply for a company. Those are the things that they require, commonly required. And then you have to have a clean background, meaning you have no felony charges or anything like that, and you have to be at least 18 years old. So those are the common requirement if you are planning to start to work for a company. Okay, so those are the state regulations. Now, you understand the state regulations. You are already like maybe thinking of, okay, I'm under open and I'll be purchasing the materials right after this. So I want to know what are the things I need to start the business. So these are the things you need. Okay, the first one is, of course, the FD 258 cards. This is how it looks like. This is a card and not a regular paper. Okay. You can purchase this in different ways, maybe through FBI website, or you can purchase this via Amazon, which is the fastest way. You just have to search for FD258 in Amazon, and you can definitely purchase this in bulk or anything like that. Okay, you can also purchase this in other ways. We have the Certifex Print Scan National Fingerprint Ink. Okay, this is how it looks like, and this is very important because that is where the fingerprints will be printed. Okay, that's the first thing that you must have. The second is, of course, the ink pad. Now, this is the FBI approved ink pad. Okay, so again, you can purchase this via Amazon as well. You can just search for FBI approved fingerprint ink pads, and this is how it looks like. So, this two, the card and the ink pad, is the basic, the must have if you are going to start a ink fingerprinting business. Okay. The third one, this is not really required, but I find this very helpful. Okay. Especially if you are capturing an ink, you need something that would clip the card so that it will not move during the process. Okay. As you can see right here, it's very handy. It's small and you can fit this in your bag. And whenever you capture the fingerprint, you can just clip the card in this portable card table or something, and you can definitely capture fingerprint a lot more faster, free from smudges and messes or something like that. So yeah, you can definitely have this, and you can purchase this via Amazon as well. Some of the people will just use a portable table, because the only thing that you have to know is that you need a flat, solid surface to place the card so that when you capture, when you roll the finger to get the fingerprints, it will be in a flat surface. Okay, so to capture a clear and readable fingerprint. Okay, you can have your portable table or you can have this. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, this is what I suggest. Okay. Now, these other supplies that you must have is just to maybe an addition. It's not a must, but it is somehow very helpful. Okay. First one is cleaning supplies, especially wet wipes and alcohol. Because right after getting the fingerprints, they will have inks on their hand. And maybe just to give a good customer service for your client, you can give them a cleaning material such as wet wipes to clear the ink from their hands. Okay, and an alcohol to sanitize their hand. Okay, for you, you can use a gloves so to avoid contamination at the same time so that the ink will not be on your hands. Okay, you can use a gloves. So the next is you have to have a shipping envelopes and a receipt or a journal book. So the journal book will be your record book for all the transactions that you have. So you can record everything in there for easy tracking. Okay, especially if you want to track your income and how many transactions you've had for the past weeks or months or something like that. And for shipping envelope, because right after taking the fingerprints, so you can just easily put them in the shipping envelope so it's ready to go. Okay. And of course, a guide to completing the FD258 card. There is a guide on how to properly fill out the information in the card. So we will give you a copy right after the class, although this is available online. But again, this is very important. You have to read and practice and study the proper way of filling out the card because we don't want a rejected card. Okay. Later on, I will discuss how to handle rejected cards. But again, that is something that you have to understand. If you want to avoid that kind of scenario, you have to study the guide on completing FD 258. Okay, so these are just the supplies. These are all the supplies you need to start the ink fingerprinting. So go ahead, purchase them on Amazon, and then yeah, you can definitely start your ink fingerprinting once you have all these supplies. So now that you have the supplies, you are almost ready to go. What would be the pricing for this kind of service? So there is no discretion. It's 100% your discretion as to how much you want to charge your service. Okay, but there are things that you have to consider. First one is market research. Well, you have to like explore, check your competitors in the local area, see how much they are charging. Because you don't want to charge too low and you don't want to charge too high, right? So see and check your competitors in your area, see how much they are charging. The usual rate is around 40 to 100. So again, it depends on your area. That is why it is important to check it first. Okay, so do a market research. Next is what are the other things that you have to consider? The materials you purchase. Because remember, you purchase a card, ink pads, cleaning supplies, all of this is part of the cost. Okay? Now, if you're also renting an office, you have to add that as a cost. And if you are running an ads, that is also a cost. Licensing and training fees, just like this one, this is a class and you paid for it, that is a cost. Shipping fee, travel fees, if you are required to travel from point A to point B, so you also have to add that in the cost. Usually, the standard rate comes with one card. Like when you give your standard rate, that comes with one card. Some people offer two cards in their standard rate. But again, one card is okay. Now, if they require an additional card, then that is an additional cost that you can add on top of the standard rate. Okay, so these are the things that you have to consider if you are going to set a price. Now, for those who already owns a notary service business, you can offer fingerprinting business or service as part of a bundle. Maybe you can combine it with whatever service you already offer and come up with your own price with that one. Yeah, it's a bundle service. Okay, so these are ways for you to price your service. Okay, let's say you already purchased your materials, you have your price in your head. So now it's start to tell the people what you do. And that's where the marketing comes in. How do I market my service? Because I have seen a lot of comments on different groups that they are having hard time finding clients, maybe because they are not marketing it um in a proper way, or maybe they're not exploring ways to let people know what they do. So the first thing that you have to have at least is a website. Well, a website, although it's not really required, but nowadays people check the information via websites. So it doesn't really have to be a complicated website. It's just something that would tell people what you do. It will also boost your authority in the field. Just something that you can share to people, let them know when they search on Google about the company. So it's a simple website will do. Yeah, and you can also list down your service in Google My Business. This is for free. Okay, you can create your Google My Business account for free. And this is very helpful because nowadays people just search for fingerprinting near me or something like that. Your business should be part of the result when they search for that. Okay, if especially if they're searching nearby your area or around your area. So you have to list down your business in Google My Business. And again, this is for free. And you can also list it down in different platforms such as Yelp. Okay. Now, social media is one of the best platform as well to market your service. There are a lot of platforms here. If you are not active on, let's say, Facebook, you must be in there. Okay. LinkedIn, you must have a profile on LinkedIn. So this will somehow solidify your information so people can see you or you will be visible to different people. Okay, so you have to promote your service on different social media platforms, and you can even join groups. Okay, to connect to a potential client. There are different kind of groups on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So all of these platforms, this is something that you can definitely use to promote your service. You can also do partnership. Now, search your area and look for establishment that frequently requires fingerprinting service. Partner with them. Most common establishments are security firms, childcare providers, healthcare environment, immigrations, state or government run programs. You can partner with these different kinds of establishments just so they know who to top when they need fingerprinting service. Okay? And network with fellow notary people like a notary group, connect with them because they might be requiring fingerprinting service if they don't have it yet. So they can connect with you and partner with you when it comes to this service. So you have to collaborate, learn to do some partnership with establishments. The other thing is local advertising, which is using flyers. You can give it out in your community or maybe in different offices or something like that. You can hand out your business cards. So make sure to include contact informations and maybe the services that you offer. And all this like local newspaper, if it is still a thing in the area, you can put your ads in there, local newspapers and magazines. So these are some local advertising that you can actually explore. Okay. And lastly, word of mouth. It's funny how some service provider like they're ashamed to share what they do with their friends, their relatives, or the people that they know, so like they don't share what they do. It is important to at least start offering your service to the people that you already know, because if they need the service they know who to contact, right? Inform your friends, inform your family, inform your colleagues, former colleagues, that you are now offering this service just so they know, and that if they need it, they know that you offer it. Okay, so share it with the people that you already know. So these are ways for you to market your service. I know it sounds pretty broad, and you might be asking, I will have to start from step one. Okay, that is okay. Everyone starts somewhere. Okay, you just have, if you want to explore the service, then these are the platforms or the areas that you need to do. Okay, so that's marketing. Now you have the supplies, you have the price, you set your price for your service, and you are starting to, like, you started marketing your service. So clients are now coming in, they will be inquiring via call, via your website, via social media. So in other words, there will be clients coming in. So how do I approach clients? What are the questions I need to ask first? And what are the things that I need to inform them about during the or before setting the appointment or something like that? Okay, so I'll show you a quick mock appointment. I was supposed to show you a video, but we usually, like, there's always an audio problem. So what I will do is just let or discuss with you how to do it when you are already in the business. Okay, first is usually the inquiries will be coming via call. So the first thing that you have to ask if someone inquires about your service is ask what the establishment is requesting. Is it ink or is it electronic? Because some establishments might be requiring or asking the client for a electronic live scan or the electronic fingerprinting, which is the live scan fingerprinting, and you don't have that. Okay, because if you don't have the device. So make sure you have to check first so that it will not be a waste of time between you and the client. Because again, you only offer ink fingerprinting. And if they require other things, then that is not something you can offer. So you have to check it first. Second, you have to ask them if they have their own card, because if the establishment requesting this is a company, some of the company might be giving them already cards to use. But if they don't have, then you always have a card because that is part of your standard rate, right? But it's still important to check if they have their own card. Okay. Next is ask what ID will they be presenting in the appointment. Okay. Check what ID that they will be using. Next is, of course, the time, the date, and the venue or wherever you guys will be meeting because fingerprinting can go mobile. You just have to bring your supplies with you and you can go mobile. So you can ask them the date, the time, or the venue for the appointment. And always make sure that you add the transportation um, as part of the cost, okay, if you are required to travel. So these are the common questions that you can ask them during the phone interview or if it's just a chat inquiry or something like that. Always ask these basic questions. Okay, now that you like let's say the appointment day comes in and it's already the time to do the actual fingerprinting process. So what should I do? How do I perform the ink fingerprinting service? The first one is that you have to get their ID. You have to check the ID. If the person that is in the ID is the person that is in front of you. In the next slide, I will show you a way to check the legitimacy of the ID. Make sure that it's not fake. Okay. So again, the first thing is to get their ID and check the name and the information. Second is you have to fill out the FD258 card. Most of the information will be coming from the ID, but the other info, such as the height, the weight, the place of birth, is something that you can ask the client directly. And again, you have to fill out the card according to the FD258 guide on how to fill out the card. Okay. And then right after filling out the card, you will ask them to sign the card. So there is an area there for you to sign. Client can sign the card. And other way to inspect is make sure that the signature matches the signature in the ID. Okay. And you can ask your client what is the reason for the fingerprinting. It's just something for you, maybe to document all the transactions that you have. You can probably write it in your journal that like for client A, like the date and all, and then you can probably add reasons for the fingerprinting just so you have a tracking record. It's easier for you to track the record or the transactions you had for the past days and weeks and stuff. So yeah, you can ask for the reason. And so the fingerprinting process comes in. Now for fingerprinting process, it doesn't really matter if you're going to start with the left or the right. It's okay, whatever you start with, but you have to start with the thumb. You get the thumb first, let it you have to roll the fingertip on the card. So you have to roll it in order to get the whole prints on the fingertips. Okay? You can start with the thumb and then go ahead and proceed with the other fingers. And do the same with the other side. From the thumb going to the other fingers after. Okay, make sure to roll it and not just dump it. Okay, roll it first. Roll it because you have to get all the prints on the fingertips. And then at the bottom part of the card, you have to do all the hands together and press it at the bottom part. Okay, in other words, there will be two fingertip printing for each fingers because at the bottom part, you have to do all the hands together and press it at the bottom. So that's how you capture the fingerprint. Okay, so now how will I know if the ID is not fake? So I will give you a few tips on how to identify if the card or the ID is not fake. So this is the common ID that they will be presenting, the driver's license. So very basic informations that you have to check is of course the description in the ID should match with the person in front of you in terms of the eye color, the hair, the gender and stuff. So you have to check the image that is in the ID and the person in front of you. Are they the same? Are they the same person? So that's just one way for you to check. Second, check the expiration date. Make sure that it's not an expired ID. Third, check the information elements, which is the name, the other details that is in the card. It should be there and it should be complete. Okay. The next is the security features. So the IDs has security features in them. You can use a UV light to scan the ID and check the security features. So a UV light is very cheap. Just bring in like a small UV light with you and then scan the ID to make sure that you can see the security features of the ID. And you can even use a magnifying glass just to make sure that that the ID is not tampered. To have a clear view of the ID, you can use a magnifying glass. Okay, and you run your fingertips to the ID. You can feel if there are some alterations in the ID. If the image or the picture is not the original picture, it's something is on top of it or something like that. You can actually feel it, and you can also feel the embossed number in the ID. So there should be a bump. That's something you can feel. Now, right after the class, I want you to look at your driver's license and examine them and get to know all the features that is in your ID. That is your best way to get acquainted with on how to properly check an ID. And lastly, compare the signature that is in the ID and the signature she printed in the fingerprint card, the FD258 card. Make sure that they are the same. Okay, those are your ways for to check the ID. And if you are asking me like I still need a thorough deep understanding on how to make sure that the ID is correct or it's not fake. Well, there is actually an ID checking guide that you can purchase. You can find them in this website, driverslicenseguide.com. And this actually details the information on how to like check the ID. Okay, so if you are interested to purchase it, then go ahead and visit this website, or you can just examine your ID and maybe do your own diligence, like check or Google whatever, and then familiarize the ID that you already have, just so you get the understanding of how to properly check the ID. Okay, so those are the things that you have to understand, and like the flow of from the appointment setting to the actual fingerprinting session with your client. Okay, and so right now we will do a quick recap for all the things that we have discussed. We will just be answering a few questions before I open the floor for your for any questions that you might have. Okay. First question is, what is the purpose of ink-rolled fingerprinting? I want to hear from Jackie. Hi, Jackie. You can unmute your microphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Hi. So the purpose of the roll fingerprint, it's a service that you can add to your notary business to offer more services to the client.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so um with the purpose of ink-rolled fingerprinting is for personal information. Okay, this is your way to get the personal information of the client for different reasons. Could be for background checking, for professional licenses, or immigration purposes. Again, there are a lot of possible purpose for getting the fingerprint. But the main reason here is that we get the fingerprint for personal purposes, personal to get the personal information of the client. Okay, so next is how long does the process take? Well, the process for fingerprinting is will only take you 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so again, you just have to fill out the card, get the fingerprint. So that's how fast it is. You'll just go and do a quick interview, like asking the purpose of the fingerprinting and the other information that you need in the FD 258 card that is not in the ID. And usually it only takes you 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. So the next question is, what should clients bring to their appointment? Okay, I want to hear from Marcella. What should the client bring to their appointment?
Only their person.
Only the
And
sorry, what was
ID.
ID? Okay, exactly. That is
And
correct.
ID.
Thank you. Yep, the ID. So they need to bring the ID. Remember, when you do the appointment setting, you check with them what is the ID that they will be bringing. Okay, so during the appointment, you have to make sure that you get the ID first. In other words, they need to bring their ID. And if they have an existing card, then they can bring it with them. But yeah, again, your standard rate should always comes with one card at least. Okay, so they need to bring their ID. Now, can I refuse a service request? Now, someone wants to book you for fingerprinting. But when you do like the checking, if you ask them, do you have an ID or something like that, they would say like, I don't have an ID, but I have a paper or something like that. But the process requires you to that the person should have a government ID. It should not be like it's part of the identification. So you can always refuse a service if you feel like there is a possible problem with this process and I don't want to involve myself with that. So you can always refuse a service, okay? When you do a check with during the call and if you feel like there must be a problem with identification and stuff, so yeah, you can always refuse. Okay? Second is, do I need to notarize the fingerprint cards? You don't have to. Okay? You don't have to notarize the fingerprint cards. What you can notarize is the documents that comes with it. If they brought a document with them that needs notarization and you offer notarization, then you can notarize that. But the fingerprint cards, you don't need to notarize them. Okay? Now, can I offer mobile fingerprinting service? Yes, you can. Okay. Again, you just have to bring the supplies with you, the FD 258 card, the ink, the card, the table or the flip card to clip the card, or something like that, anything or any solid flat surface. So just bring them with you together with your cleaning supplies, your gloves, your shipping envelopes and stuff. So you can definitely offer this mobile. So you can travel from point A to point B or whatever. Okay. And how do I handle rejected cards? Scenarios like this is very common, especially if you are a newbie in the field. Because sometimes when you capture the fingerprint, you might not be noticing any smudges or something like that. And there are scenarios where the informations you added in the card might not be according to what is in the guidelines for the FD258. So you have to make sure, again, to study the guide. At the same time, practice capturing readable and clear fingerprint. You can practice it maybe right after the call if you have an ink pad with you, just a standard ink pad and a paper, just so you can get or you understand how to get a proper fingerprint. So avoid smudges, avoid any kind of mess or something like that. Okay. Now, if there is a rejected card, the common way to do or to fix this is of course just offer a reprint for free. Okay, contact your client, or maybe usually the client will reach out to you like, hey, the card was rejected, I need a new card. Then you can offer it for free. Okay, because again, the error was on your end. You are the one who captures the fingerprint, who wrote the information in the card. So you might as well offer it for free. Okay, that's how you handle rejected card. Okay, so now I will open the floor for any questions. You can unmute your microphone or you can drop your question in the chat box. I will go through them and answer them as to make sure that I will be able to address all your concerns and stuff. So yeah, go ahead and ask your questions. Yes, there is an approved ink pad. If you purchase the approved ink pad, there should not be a problem with whatever color, but usually it's just black. Again, make sure that you purchase the approved FBI ink pad. Okay. Other questions? Oh, for filling out the information, that is in the guide, but usually the ink should always be in black. But again, that is why it's important to read the guide first. Yeah, but black is the usual color when you fill out the info. So for the journal, you can actually use any books, any notebooks that you want. The only thing that you have, the only thing that matters here is that you can properly record all the transactions that you have, so that if there are cases like rejected card, you can go back to your transaction record, to your record, and to make sure that this person is really part of your clients. You were able to service this person a few weeks ago or something like that. So any notebook will do. Okay, just make sure that you can record all the transactions that you have. And for the information, usual information is of course the date, the time of your appointment, the venue where you guys met, the reason or the reason for the fingerprinting, and maybe you can even ask the person to do a like sign right after, just to make sure that she confirms the transaction or something like that. It depends on you, but those basic information, the date, the time, the name, the reason, should be there. You can even include address. Again, it depends on what works for you to be able to track and go back and check. So the record is just for your own safekeeping. If you are paying taxes, um, this is part of your way to do like going back to your transactions on income. So it's just for your record keeping. Okay. Other questions? Okay, so you might be asking, can I perform? So I'll just add this. So nobody asked, but I'll just add this. You might be wondering, can I do or can I perform fingerprinting if to other state? Can I do it in any state, even if I'm from, let's say I'm from Maryland or something like that? Can I perform fingerprinting to other state? Yes, you can. You can perform ink fingerprinting. Just make sure that you follow the state regulations, which is the open, the closed, and the restricted. You have to understand them. So, but that means you can still perform fingerprinting in any state. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Okay. I think everyone's good. Nobody's asking questions. Okay, guys, you will receive a copy of the recording of this class so that you can go back to them anytime you want. You will also receive a guide on how to fill out the FD258 cards so you can study them. And yeah, I would encourage you guys to start purchasing all the supplies so you can start offering the service to your community, to your area, or to whoever. And of course, don't forget to market your service in social media, or put an make sure you're visible on Google. When I search about you, you should be there. Okay, that is very important. So that would be all. Thank you so much for attending this class, and I look forward to successful fingerprinting businesses for you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jackie. Have a great night. Thank you.